The Supreme Court has rejected a restrictive New York state law that limited who can carry a concealed weapon. The 6-3 decision ruled the law violated the Constitution. President Biden responded to the ruling, saying the need to curb violence still needs to be done on the state level and through Congress. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is reacting to the ruling.
It's clearly reached the point where we won't have any sleep. This decision is so impactful. When I spoke with my chief counsel, based on this preliminary analysis, I said, give it to me on a scale of 1 to 10. It's very close to a 10 of a major concern that we have. While we're still analyzing the decision, we can say with certainty, this decision has made every single one of us less safe from gun violence. The decision ignores the shocking crisis of gun violence every day.
Let's bring in Melissa Quinn and Robert Spitzer for more on this now. Melissa is a CBS News political reporter.
And Robert Spitzer is a distinguished service professor at the State University of New York, Portland. He is also the author of 6 books on gun policy and has studied and written about historical gun laws extensively. Welcome. It's good to have you both. Professor, let me start with you. As someone who studied the history of gun laws here in the U.S., what's your reaction to today's Supreme Court decision?
Well, my reaction specifically regarding gun law history is that the majority opinion in the Bruin case bent over backwards to distort, disfigure, and misunderstand the history of gun laws in America, in particular gun carry laws. If you look at the history of gun carry laws in America, we have had them for hundreds of years. If you go from the 1600s to the start of the 20th century, 47 states out of 50 had laws restricting or barring concealed gun carry, and some states had laws barring open carry. Now, the idea that these old laws did not include a permitting system jumps over the fact that you simply couldn't carry guns in many states, and that they were subject to various restrictions. They simply didn't institute a system of permitting. So in that sense, there was no precedent. But if you look at the arc of the laws, restrictions on
civilian gun carrying were the norm, were the default in America for hundreds of years, until the last few decades.
It's fascinating to hear that history there, Professor. Melissa, I'm going to turn to you now. If you could break this down for us, how significant is the Supreme Court's ruling today? What does it really address? Is it narrow? Is it broad? Tell us how much will change as a result of this ruling.
Well, the decision certainly is an expansion of gun rights, and the most significant that we've seen from the Supreme Court since its 2008 decision in Heller and then the follow-on case in 2010. You know, both the majority and also a concurring opinion from Justice Kavanaugh that was joined by Chief Justice John Roberts did note that the opinion leaves untouched concealed carry laws in 43 states. These shall issue jurisdictions where residents who do want to carry a concealed handgun outside the home do have to get a license if they meet a basic set of requirements. And what Justice Kavanaugh said in his concurrence was that this ruling really only affects not only, of course, the gun law in New York, but in 5 other states, Maryland, Massachusetts, California, for example, where they had similar licensing regimes on the books and gave broad discretion to government authorities as to whether to approve or deny these concealed carry permits if they decide that the person does or does not have a special need for self-defense.
So you just broke down there how the Supreme Court kind of arrived at this decision. Melissa, do we have a sense of sort of the implications here moving forward? You touched on it a moment ago.
Well, you heard from Mayor Adams and also New York's governor put out a statement, both saying that they intended to continue not only their review of the Supreme Court's decision, but also their laws to see if there are additional steps that they can take to tighten their gun laws. And I expect to see, I believe New York's governor alluded to this, second looks at these laws that place restrictions on where you can carry a concealed handgun, these sensitive places. That was also an issue in particular that was raised during oral arguments by Justice Amy Coney Barrett and the Chief Justice. So I would look to these sensitive places as to whether there are steps state and local lawmakers can take to impose those sorts of rules.
So, Professor Spitzer, to follow up on Melissa's point there, now that legislators, especially from states like New York, that do have some of the nation's strictest gun laws, now that they're probably going to start looking locally, how broad can that be? Could, for instance, New York State legislature pass a law that says no one in New York City can carry a concealed weapon unless they have a specific reason to? So in other words, just making it about urban areas, or would that be considered too broad in light of this new ruling?
Well, the court majority was pretty skeptical of that sort of distinction because to them, that represented the deprivation of rights to people living in a large city like New York. And lawmakers in New York and the other states that had similar, more discretionary permit laws will obviously be looking to sculpt new laws that conform to the standards set out by the Supreme Court. And indeed, there are the number of that's cited in the decision of 43 states with permitting isn't quite right. As of right now, 18 states have what's called a shall issue permitting system, meaning and the court said expressly, permitting by states for pistols, for handguns is fine as long as it is the shall issue standard, meaning that as long as you're not a convicted felon, as long as you're not a judgmentally incompetent or discharged dishonorably from the military and a couple of other things, and you fill out the paperwork properly, you'll get your permit and that's it. Now, 25 other states had a permitting system with one exception, but they have eliminated permitting entirely. So today, only 18 states have permitting, but the court said, yes, states can have permitting, they just can't have a permit system that was as strict as that in the New York State law.
Well, as we said, a significant decision today by the Supreme Court, even as the U.S. Congress continues to debate the crafting of gun control legislation. Melissa Quinn, Professor Robert Spitzer, thank you both very much.
Hey everybody, I hope that you guys can hear me okay. If you can put a little something. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, because unlike you guys that you have more experience on this, I'm kind of struggle streaming. So, all right, good. Okay, so that was right before it was like the previous Wednesday of last week when that decision came down. They were talking about that they came down with the rifle versus brewing decision, which was challenging all the way to the Supreme Court the limitations of the state of New York when it comes to getting a permit. Anybody who has an opinion, you guys, Morena, Kayfield, you guys are from New York. You can inform me of any details that you know about that, because I'm kind of far away. So the restrictions that you're having to deal with, it's not something that I see down there. Down here, here I am in Texas, Morena. I know that you're in Texas too, but you are from New York, so you can still tell me how does that go. The thing is, what I found very interesting is that it's not being talked about, because I know that lately there has been another Supreme Court decision that came out last Friday that everybody has been talking about. With reason. I don't have a problem with that. But this one is actually quite momentous for the state of New York. Now, I understand that there was some talk on Radical's live stream. He already talked about it to an extent. Okay. Okay. If the restriction in NYC is in effect to not be able to conceal and carry a handgun, as far as I'm aware. My understanding is that it will still, the current restrictions are still going to be in place for the next couple of weeks. There is still going to be a few days away before the measure is actually passed into law, because that's something that has to be signed off on. It's been decided. There is an opinion on it by the Supreme Court, but it's still not the law. So that's gonna be, I understand that that's gonna be next. Okay. Morena me está diciendo, I have no clue, Ramon. I was not familiar with firearms or the laws regarding it till I moved to Texas. But that's the thing, because I understand that the restrictions in New York have been in place for over 100 years. And I know that Radical, in one of his recent streams, did talk about it. It takes some time to talk about it, and he is more informed. I mean, if he happens to be watching, he's more than welcome to chime in. But maybe that's how they wanted you to think. Maybe that's how they wanted you to feel, that you may not need to be protected. Like, you didn't need to know about it, because they wanted you to feel like you didn't need to protect yourself. And only you guys can tell me how it is when it comes to the streets up in New York. I mean, did you ever feel like you would have been better off if you had been able to protect yourself or not? You guys let me know. Now, something that I found interesting and a bit unfortunate is that when it comes to the timing, because the very next day, on Thursday, the very next day, there is the following. Let me see if I can put it up. This is something that I just don't get it, because this was on the very next. Hang on. This is what I clicked. Okay. Because hang on, guys. Hang on. Because I want to make sure that I can share it properly. I'm not so good at this. Hopefully, I don't struggle too much with it.
That breaking news overnight about major moves on guns in this country, but these two things going in dramatically different directions.
That's right. The Senate passing the first major gun safety legislation with bipartisan support in decades, but it comes in the wake of the massacres in Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, just hours after the Supreme Court struck down a New York law expanding gun rights, now making it easier to carry guns outside the home. Our senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, has the latest on all of that for us. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Amy. Two branches of government, two very different directions on guns in America. At the Supreme Court, those conservative justices handing down a massive victory for gun rights advocates in America, while at the Senate, after decades of partisan stalemate and bloody tragedies in our streets and schools and churches and stores and so many other places, that rare moment of bipartisan agreement on reforming gun laws in America. Overnight, a rare bipartisan achievement on Capitol Hill. The Senate passed a gun safety bill.
This bill is a compromise. It doesn't do everything I want, but what we are doing will save thousands of lives without violating anyone's Second Amendment rights.
In a 65-33 vote, senators approved the most consequential gun reform in nearly 30 years, following two of the country's most devastating mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde.
I don't believe in doing nothing in the face of what we saw in Uvalde and we've seen in far too many communities.
15 Republicans, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, joined all Democrats, even though the measure fell far short of President Biden's proposals. The $13 billion package will enhance background checks for gun buyers under 21, strengthen laws to prevent partners convicted of domestic violence from purchasing a gun, and provide funding for gun violence prevention programs, school security, and mental health. This just hours after the Supreme Court handed down a sweeping gun rights ruling Thursday, declaring that a New York state law that puts strict limits on carrying guns outside the home is unconstitutional. In a 6-3 vote, the conservative majority held that the state's requirement that anyone seeking to carry a concealed handgun must show proper cause for it violates the Second Amendment right to bear arms. Justice Clarence Thomas writing the majority opinion saying, "We know of no other constitutional right that an individual may exercise only after demonstrating to government officers some special need. It is not how the Second Amendment works when it comes to public carry for self-defense." Justice Stephen Breyer, writing in dissent, pointed to the nearly 300 mass shootings that have already occurred this year, saying the court's decision does not consider the potentially deadly consequences.
It's reprehensible. It's not what New Yorkers want. And we should have the right of determination of what we want to do in terms of our gun laws in our state.
80 million Americans live in states with similar proper cause requirements as New York's, and those are now likely unconstitutional.
The licensing regimes will still be in place, but the teeth are largely removed in places like New York. Those objective requirements are not going to limit the number of people who carry concealed weapons in public.
This is a blockbuster case at the Supreme Court, and there are more to come. We're waiting on more rulings from the justices today. Some of the big ones still outstanding. There's a major case on the EPA's authority to regulate the emissions that are driving climate change. There's a case about coaches leading prayers after school sporting events. And of course, that huge abortion case out of Mississippi where that leaked opinion suggests that the court is ready to overturn Roe versus Wade. But that case could come next week. Amy?
All right, Terry Moran for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
All right, coming back to this. Okay, yes, I'm seeing, Moreno, your comments. Let me go back. How damn, Casey, and that was just this morning because I remember another news of another young woman that was also shot walking down the street. I don't know if it was by a stray bullet. Maybe you can tell me if we're talking about the same thing. Maybe I'm kind of like doing a Mandela effect, thinking that it was something that I had already heard before, but it's only today that this happening. Okay. All I know about guns, where I came from, Ramon, that it was illegal, and the people I knew that had guns was not acquired legally. For the most part, that's what my experience was in Puerto Rico, because unfortunately, when it comes to the gun laws in Puerto Rico, they model as after the Northeast states like New York and Massachusetts that have the more restrictive gun laws. I don't know if they look at it kind of like in Chicago and all, but but in Puerto Rico, they're trying to change that. They're trying to change that because they are made to be very restrictive in Puerto Rico, since the Second Amendment does apply there. Yes, that's a constitutional right. It does apply to Puerto Rico, but locally they can make restrictions on it to make it more difficult for people. So there are groups locally that are trying to get that changed, because a lot of police officers are leaving. They're either quitting the force in Puerto Rico, or they're just plain leaving. They're taking a job in the states that pays more. So that's the thing. I mean, in Puerto Rico, you definitely can't count on the police to show up to save you. Absolutely not. That's just not a real option. Okay, yeah, same here too. Okay. And another stream about the 20-year-old working with her daughter was shot and killed. Man, that is unfortunate because I don't know if we're talking about stray bullets and people getting caught up in the crossfire, which goes to show. I mean, you may have all of these restrictive laws in the state, but that's not keeping anybody safe. They're not keeping anybody secure. I mean, people have to go out, go to places, walk down the street. Let's see. Yeah, it is sad, Tina. It is sad. Yeah, K-Fit. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. I still have to say I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, you mentioned something about that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess out there, but the thing is that the response that maybe your state officials keep saying is that to tighten the gun control laws that only affect you. It's not going to affect the criminals. That's what these politicians refuse to understand that. They refuse to understand that. Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome, K-Fit. Anytime. Yeah, I had to do that video, as I mentioned before, because because of what I have been dealing with. I'm not gonna get into that. You can watch the video and see what I mean. But yeah, it was a response to Jose's video on grief. I find it interesting. He's not here yet. So this one on live. I saw this on live. This sadly, yeah, it is sad. It is sad. No problem. So the thing is, okay, there was the first decision that came down from the Supreme Court. But then the very next day, Congress passes a bill on restrictions. The thing is that there were like a couple of things that stood out to me. My understanding is that, because I couldn't find the video, I saw a video about it, but I can't find it right now, of course, is that there were like a couple of bullet points to this bipartisan bill. It's bipartisan as in also Republicans supported the bill, including Mitch McConnell. So that was kind of surprising that he will go along with it. Mitch McConnell also supported the bill, but it was on restrictions when it comes to the transfer, when it comes to the age requirement. They're trying to change the age requirement to 21 years old. You know what? I don't know how to feel about that, because we're talking about many of these kids that are coming out of high school. They're joining the military. So they are having to learn about using weapons, but they can't, as a civilian, purchase a weapon. They can use a weapon in the military. They can kill somebody in the military after 18 years old, or maybe before that. Maybe before that, if they get a waiver, if they get some kind of parents' permission, they can join the military before that. And they're learning about weapons and how to kill people before that. But as a civilian, they can't. They don't want to. I mean, I don't think it's in effect yet, because it's still, as an 18-year-old, somebody can purchase a weapon. But it's not the law yet. But it's already been signed. It was passed by Congress, and the president signed off on it. So it's just a matter of time before it becomes law. The other bullet point that stood out to me is when it comes to when it comes to restrictions for somebody who has been accused of something that has to do with domestic violence, somebody who may have had a scuffle with a partner, because that will be redundant. it will be redundant, because if we're talking about somebody who has already been accused of some kind of misdemeanor, when it comes to domestic violence, that's already law. There is already law that says that somebody who has a misdemeanor, just a misdemeanor, that has to do with domestic violence, they can't have a weapon. They can't have a weapon. Let me see if I can show you, because I know that I'm looking it up right now. Okay, let me zoom in on it. Now I'm gonna share. Okay. What I'm showing you right now is a federal form, U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. At the bottom of the first page, you can see what's its called. You see here, ATF Form 4473. Anybody who has purchased a firearm knows what this is. Everybody that has ever purchased a firearm has to fill out one of these. They have to. It's required. It's been required for decades. There is this whole notion that people can just buy a gun like they can buy a weed whacker or a trimmer or something like that. It's not like that. You do have to fill out this application, and this is just an application because it's subject to approval, because they have to do a federal background check. That's another thing that they were talking about. Supposedly enhancing enhancing the background checks. I don't know what do they mean with enhancing, because I have heard that before. I don't think they're gonna be enhancing anything about it. I got my doubts about that, because I have heard the terms. Either universal background check. They never explain what that is. The other thing that I have mentioned more recently is enhanced background check. What do they mean with that? What does that mean? They need to define that, because the politicians say many things, but they don't define jack. There is already a federal background check. But what I wanted to show you guys, when it comes to the 4473, let's go back to it. There are several questions. You fill out some basic information when it comes to your name, where you live, certain details about your place of birth, height, gender. So far, there is only 2. Birthday. Now, with a social security number, it could be optional, but you can ask questions about it. If you don't feel like putting it in, then you don't necessarily have to put it in. But it eases the process. Now, this is somebody who might not be already all the way a citizen. Now, this is okay. I don't want to say ethnicity or race. Maybe a radical Latino will come up. Okay. So there are several questions that are yes or no questions, as you can see here. There is one in particular when it comes to domestic issues. There is one that was part of what the Clinton administration passed back in 1994. Part of the laws, the so-called Clinton ban, which is something that it didn't stay being law for the most part, but something that did remain, is, as you can see, on the letter I, there is this question. One of the questions is, as you see, have you ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence? of course, it's going to tell you, it's going to give you the options to say yes or no. Have you ever been convicted in any court of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence? Even if it is only a misdemeanor, hang on. Okay, something opened up on my end. Okay. Sorry about that. There something opened up on my end. Okay. If you see next to the question, you can answer either yes or no. Right. The thing is that if you say no and the background check says otherwise, you could be arrested for it. You could get in trouble because you're lying. Because you're lying on a federal form. That's not something that you really want to do. Now, if you say yes, you can say yes, but the process stops right then and there because you won't be able to get a firearm. That's already law. That's already the way it is. So if one has to be careful with that. So that whole notion that one can just buy a firearm and even when they have a situation where they have an issue of domestic violence. So what is the whole thing about restrictions for somebody who's having a trouble with a domestic partner? If they already have a case of domestic violence, even if it is a misdemeanor, and you have to put yes on this form, you're screwed. You have already lost your rights. Maybe you can recover the Second Amendment rights, but that's something that you have to do a whole process, legal process that is very expensive, and maybe you can get that expunged from your record or whatever. I don't know. I've never had to deal with that, but that could be a thing. Hey, 18 letter, what's going on? So there are those few things that they talk about enhancing the background checks. There is already a federal background checks. My guy 18 letter should know about what I'm talking about. When it comes to the whole legal age requirement, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if you have to think about the fact that somebody who is 18 years old can go to a gun range by himself or herself. Is that going to change too? Are they not going to allow somebody who is younger than 21 years old to go to the gun range? Do they need a parental permission, parental supervisor? Do they have to go with somebody even though they're already of legal age for some other things? They're going to be old enough to be able to go to war. I don't know about that. I'll put the question out there. Maybe some of you guys can chime in. So that is that also. That is that. Let me stop sharing this. Okay. So what do you guys think? I'm gonna put down the, let me make sure that I got the link. And let's chat about it. Hang on. Let me see when it comes to the comments. Yeah. Yeah, we know that. We know that. You and I know that. I mean, because in the southern states, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it, and I don't think they want to hear anything about anything about trying to teach little kids that are like just out of kindergarten. They're trying to teach them about non-regular sex, which I find very inappropriate. Just teaching them about sex when they are in like first or second grade, that's just not nah. That's a no to me. Okay, so I'm about to bring in my first guest. Ladies, come on up, because this concerns you too. I mean, this is about self-protection. You want to be able to protect yourself. What's going on, man?
Shout out to my boy, the introvert Boricua, aka Ramon. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform.
Absolutely, it wouldn't be the same without you. So I appreciate you coming up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like you were just saying a minute ago, ladies, this definitely concerns you all too, because what a lot of people fail to realize, you have a lot of women out there that don't have a significant other, that are single, that are, living in areas where they may be, impoverished and high crime areas, that can potentially be victims, can be targeted, not even just in a high crime area, just if you may have some weirdo walking around. You always get those people when something happens in a residential area that hop on the news and say, this just doesn't happen here. This doesn't happen here. Well, newsflash, things can pop off anywhere. That's why you want to make sure that you are prepared to, give yourself a fighting chance. It's like a lot of people don't realize what they're voting their rights away, because they don't understand politics in general. So a lot of them allow themselves to go for a lot of that feel-good rhetoric and vote their rights away until they're in a position where they, feel that they need it. It was one lady that was in New Jersey, and she was trying to get a gun permit because she had a crazy deranged ex-husband that was stalking her. Well, it turns out that they stalled the process of getting her permit, and unfortunately she was deleted by her crazy deranged ex-husband.
Yeah.
And that's something that women need to take into account and understand, that you're not stronger than a man. And even it's some deranged women out here as well that are targeting other women and other people, and but you're not stronger than a man, and you definitely will need an equalizer to be able to protect yourself and protect your family. And that's something that's very important. What we're dealing with now is politicians that are in Congress that wants to eliminate our Pro 2A rights completely. We just saw what happened over in Canada, where Trudeau, it was a mass shooting. What was that, a few years ago, where he banned AR-15s. Okay, you banned AR-15s because of the mass shooting, but then he had absolutely no reason, but yet he found pretty much within his power to just ban handguns.
Yes. Yeah. He's saying he put a freeze on transferring of handguns. It made it more difficult, and also talking to people like they don't have a right to protect themselves with a weapon. I think that's a whole bunch of garbage. I feel for them. I feel for the Canadians, because I'm sure that there are good people up there that they like to have their firearms, but that put Trudeau is kind of putting all of these restrictions, because they don't have a Second Amendment right up there. It's all subjective. I mean, they don't have any privacy. There is no 14th Amendment, because they can search their stuff. It's very invasive the way that they do it up there. They can have it, but it's in a very invasive way, where officers can show up and they have to let them search and look at their guns and whatever. Nah, I don't like it. I'm gonna bring up another guest, but keep going.
Yeah, shout out to K Fit. How you
doing? Hey, good evening.
Hey, K Fit. Thanks for coming up.
No doubt, you've been showing me so much love. I'm honored.
It humbles me. You saying that, but maybe there is something that you wanted to chime in with. What's on your mind?
I'm so frustrated and still sad and like, over this whole gun situation. Like, I just feel like I don't even know if there's a realistic solution to say we can like crack down and fix this problem. Like, as long as we have to keep relying on other people to make executive decisions for us, like, I just don't see the solution. I'm definitely like in a sour spot kind of mood where it's like, I'm just not even optimistic about, anything changing. I just feel like this is going to repeat itself. And I hope and wish and pray to have faith to say, oh, yeah, it's going to happen. But the way law and government is working right now is definitely not going to be in our favor.
Well, I mean, it's very unfortunate. And I found it very, I would say, interesting what happened on Thursday when it comes to the gun control bill that passed the Congress, and they had it all ready for the president to sign. But the thing is that Republicans added to it. They added their names to it. Several of them, including Mitch McConnell. That surprised me. That took me for a surprise, because if it hadn't been for them, that bill don't leave Congress. It doesn't get it, makes its way to the president's desk. I mean, I disagree. And on that one, it feels one feels a little bit betrayed. I mean, because they had a lot of energy to oppose everything that Obama will talk about. Nothing happened when Obama was in office. Nothing happened. He wasn't going to go up against the GOP like that. They were already being obstructionists enough for just about everything else. I mean, whatever little things that he could pass, it will be rendered almost ineffective. But that was because of the GOP. But under Trump, we lost the bonfire stocks. I mean, I know that there are certain Trump fans out there that are giving all the credit in the world for just about everything, but but under Trump, we lost the bonfire stocks. I wanted to get some of that.
Yeah, I wanted to get those too. I wish I would have got them before.
Yeah. No, you could have been able to get them, but you couldn't tell anybody about them because you could get in trouble, because overnight they became illegal. I mean, and you couldn't have it at the gun range or something, because somebody could tell you something, tip you off. One could have gotten in trouble. They went from legal to illegal overnight, and Trump allowed it. Trump knew, Trump allowed it. So we're not really that safe with the Republicans. Of course, the Democrats are very blatant and very loud about wanting to do gun grabbing. Okay, yes, I'm not disputing that. But the Republicans are not necessarily any better.
Absolutely, they're just more vague in the way that they carry themselves when it comes to dealing with the Second Amendment. But in reality, it's certain Republicans that want the Second Amendment eliminated as well. Mm-hmm. Another issue that we was having that was ongoing back and forth is the ATF constantly interfering with pistol braces for AR pistols. And whether or not it can be considered a stock or a brace, and the seesaw method behind that, and how it keeps going up and down, where one day they may be illegal, one day they're legal again, and it's crazy. But we have to remember the origins of this country. This was the only country to really defy the British Crown. So,
the country started out of a war with weapons. I mean, that might be like the one of the main reasons why we have the Second Amendment to begin with, because the country started out of a war. It was only the colonies back then. I mean, before 1776, it was the colonies, and they were under the British rule. And that's when, and then the revolution happened. And after the revolution, then several years after that, when they passed when they were ratifying the Constitution and they had to pass the Bill of Rights, they had to include it right there at number 2. They had to include the Second Amendment because they knew that they needed to be armed before, and they figured that it would be needed to be armed in the future. So, I mean, credit to them for that. I mean, they might have been slave owners. That's a different subject.
Absolutely.
A different subject
crazy.
altogether. Yeah, but at least you guys, being in this country, being citizens, you are a taxpayer. The Second Amendment is your right too, even if you're not white. I mean, you have to look at it that way.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a lot of people, because I know K-Fit is out of the Bronx, and the thing that people don't understand is that if you give away your rights, guns are still going to be trafficked through America, because this is a gun country, and actually it's more guns in the United States than it is people. And if you are not developing being able, because America, the circumstances and the conditions that people can be put in America, not just in America, but any country, can create stress, and it can create frustration, and that creates havoc and crime. And with that being said, havoc and crime creates criminals. So once a person feel like they has nothing to lose and they've already lost their rights, they're going to get a gun anyway. And, even right now, what's going on in the Bronx, I know back in the day when I used to hear about New York, Brooklyn was the most dangerous borough that I used to hear about. But right now, it seems like that the Bronx is on fire. And what they do, especially the game that the Democrats play, now that they've been forced to recognize the Second Amendment, no different than here in Chicago, Illinois, McDonald versus the city of Chicago, where he had to take it to the Supreme Court to be able to have Chicago recognize the Second Amendment. They try to do all types of different loopholes to keep people, especially people of color and people that are living in the inner city communities, not being able to purchase firearms, where you have to pay $300 for gun classes. You have to pay a permit fee. You have to, of course, purchase your first firearm, which, let's say you want to get something like a Taurus or various, different firearms like that. That's going to be money. And the average inner city person that's a blue collar worker or that just works, that's on the lower middle class, cannot afford to be able to buy a firearm to protect themselves. And that's how they keep those populations, within the tune of, what they're doing. And who has all the firearms? You ask yourself, it's people that live in the suburbs, people that are, they can afford to go and, get themselves a firearm and protect themselves. And the people that need it the most, that may live in impoverished areas where it may be a red zone for crime, those are the ones that still are the most defenseless, and the ones that's not being able to have that exercise their right, like people who are more financially stable are.
Right.
I wanted to chime in too. Like a few months ago, there was a big bus in Port Authority in New York City where they had bust all these smuggled guns that came in from wherever they came in. And long story short, they claim they found the links of how some of the guns are getting into the city. But of course, from then to now, obviously these criminals or these crafty individuals found out new ways, how to get guns in. But it's like at this point, you can really get a gun in New York City for $100 or probably even less. There's the problem is illegal guns, I feel sometimes, and these new air pistols and other guns that they are, craftily mated, the laser guns. I kind of feel sometimes that the law we have today isn't up to date with the crimes we have. And that needs to be a bill put in place, updated, so the crimes we're actually experiencing need to fit the way we penalize people, and reprimand people for the crimes they're creating. Like, it's so outdated, doesn't fit with today's crimes, thinking about cyber crimes and stuff like that. It's so
Yes.
out of date.
Yeah, and the thing is that you could get you could get a gun out of the streets, but it's gonna be probably an old gun that is beat up, rusted, and probably has like 10 bodies on it. I mean, is that really what you want? Because you get caught with that, and they test it, and they link that gun to several murders, you're gonna be on the hook for that. I mean, so that's something that you really have to think twice about it. Yes, it's gonna cost more to get a brand new, but try and get a brand new. I know that there may be guys on the streets that can get them brand new. That's a different thing, because I remember this movie that is suggesting something that might be true. There is this movie from the early 90s called Strapped, and there was a scene in which the main character, he had gotten in trouble for kind of like selling something, some dope or whatever, and this police detective was trying to use him to connect him with some gun dealers. And there was a scene in which he was with an undercover agent. The main character was with an undercover agent, and they were checking out some guns from a dealer. There's some Hispanic guys who was a dealer, and he was talking about that he had them brand new out of the box. They were clean and all, and they cost more because of that, but they were brand new. So there could be guys that do that. You still could get in trouble for it because it's not something that is registered. I don't know the registration process in New York. What do you have to do? I'm sure it's a it's a complicated process. It's not just filling out the 4473, but there might be other requirements and more paperwork. I don't know. I can only go from what I have seen down here, which is actually fairly easy. Now, the whole thing, what they call the gun show loophole, there is no such thing. What they call the gun show loophole, that's just private sales between individuals that reside on the same state. That's what they call the gun show loophole, because a lot of those sales happen at gun shows. There are people that go to gun shows with a gun that they wanna sell, and they find somebody who can prove that they reside on the same state, and they make a private sale. That's still legal. That's what they refer to with the gun show loophole. It's not a thing. It's not a real thing, because what happens at the gun shows can happen at the parking lot, or at the parking lot of a mall. That's different. So, and there are the bill of sales that you can do that to have kind of like a paper trail. But getting them off the street, I remember hearing about being able to get them off the street when I was in Puerto Rico, but it never occurred to me. I never wanted to do that, because I knew that some of those guns could be dirty. Even if I was interested, I wasn't so interested back then. But if I were interested, I could be taking a risk with a dirty gun that already had bodies on it.
Well, absolutely. And just to think, like, with what's going on right now here, like a lot of the way the guns get into the city here, like through Indiana, Northwest Indiana is practically, and I know K Fit, she'll understand where I'm coming from. Well, Northwest Indiana is practically our New Jersey, where it's like a half an hour away from Chicago, and with Indiana being a Republican red state, it's easier to get access to firearms out there. And sometimes what happens is a lot of people hit the trains. You'll have trains that's going from Chicago into Indiana where they would rob the trains and get guns that were meant to be shipped to the gun stores, and they'll be selling them on the street. It's a lot of new firearms on the street. I actually saw a video of these kids in the at a basketball court here in Chicago, and all of these kids was armed to the teeth with switches on Glocks that makes them fully automatic, AR pistols, different things like that. And these kids had to be no more than 15 years old.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like the young kids, I don't understand how these 14, 15, 16-year-olds like have it and their parents don't know.
A lot of the times it may be some instances where their parents don't know, but it's a lot of the times too is instances where their parents just don't care, or their parents are doing their own thing. A lot of the time
they're afraid, maybe.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because maybe they grow to be afraid, but a lot of the times what creates a lot of these children too is bad parenting, in my personal opinion. And of course the environment, because even if you have good parents and then you live in this type of environment, then you can have kids that come from good households. They may interact with some of these kids who may not, or get into it with them over an argument or a confrontation. Now they feel like they have to get themselves one to protect them, because somebody that they got into an argument with 2 blocks over got a gun, and he's known to use it, and he's known to have deleted people before. So that put that kid into a situation where they cannot afford to move, or maybe he don't tell his parents about what has transpired, and he's trying to now get himself a gun because he thinks it's a possibility that person that he got into an argument and a confrontation with is coming back to do something to him.
I can understand that.
And that happens quite often. I mean, I've never really shared the story before. It's a lot of things, but like my boy Ramon was saying, when I was younger, at 17 years old, I did purchase an illegal firearm. Thank God I never got caught with it, but I was in a situation where I felt that I needed it. Well, I take that back. I was about 18, going on 19, and it was new. It wasn't. I had to pay a pretty penny for it, but it was a situation where I was into it with guys, and I felt that I needed one. At that particular time, I wouldn't. Now I wouldn't think about doing something like that, but at the time, what was in my head was, hey, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. If it's
you were thinking about your survival. Yeah,
absolutely. And like getting them here was like going to the store and buying a quart of water, as in the New York slang. And like the situation like that's going on, like for instance, it's been Stop the Violence marches since 1993. Stop gun violence marches since 1993. And that's as furthest back as I can remember as a child. But the thing is, we're stuck in a pickle because America makes its money off of crime. Prosecutors, the district attorneys, the lawyers, the judges, the prison industrial complex. So it's not in America's best interest to stop crime. They'll act like they're trying to take preventive measures to stop it. But in reality, if they stop crime, then a lot of people won't eat. And so, there's certain people that's going to be subjugated to being in a bad position in order for them to commit crimes. And they're going to, find themselves in that cycle. And then what's going to happen, they're going to, be in a repetitive cycle where they're going to buy firearms off the street. And so that's what we have going on right now, because if they wanted to stop it, they could, of course, more jobs within the inner cities, more resources, but they don't want to do that because they'll take away an advantage that they have and an advantage that their children have. So they rather keep that going because it lines people's pockets.
Right. Yeah, you have to think about that, how always in a war, in a conflict, somebody is making money off of it. There is always somebody who is benefiting from it. But it being a complicated issue, because this is something that has been going on for a long time. If we're talking about New York, I remember there is something on YouTube that you can look up. It's a film, like a documentary film from 1973, in which they were showing the Bronx at that time, like it was Bronx or South Bronx. It was kind of grimy what they were showing at the time, because it was all people getting shot, stabbed, sliced up, beat up, and they were showing the emergency rooms, all the people that they were having to treat, all the people that were getting shot and stabbed. And so the issue of violence has been a relative constant in the New York area, kind of like apparently Bronx being more infamous. Kayfit, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing is that there are these laws that are over 100 years old, and they put these restrictions in which a citizen has to show a cause, has to justify themselves to be able to protect themselves. I mean, like, they can say, oh, well, you have to protect yourself because there is danger in the streets. To them, that's not going to be good enough. They put that restriction clearly, and they know that people should be able to protect themselves. These officials, these government officials, they know that people are at risk, and making them more of a victims. Who does that benefit? I mean, it keeps the government officials empowered, making people, the citizens, more of a victim, making them more vulnerable. But that is going to have to change, because that whole notion. I know that radical they talked about it, gave more details as to why those older laws were put in place. Okay, I get it, but there needs to be a change. And
I agree.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because you definitely have to be a victim first here and go through the whole process of litigation, judicial system, lawyer, attorney. Can you pay? Can you not pay? How much money you make? Victim services. Like, it's a whole shit show. Excuse my French, and you got to get witnesses and proof, and they want to do all this surveillance and everything. It's like, who has time for that? I want to protect myself first, not be the victim first. So it's like, it's definitely set up and crafted the way you in the 18th letter said, definitely in the favor of those people at the higher up, so they can have purpose and reason to hold the positions they have. So it's just really just disgusting, because it's like people are actually moving from state to state for these reasons, so it's like, I don't know if New York is ready for a stand your ground law. I'm not going to say all of that. That may be a little bit too much for the NYC. But at the end of the day, like, we definitely need a solution. And, it comes with these amendments and laws, and the way, times are outdated when it comes to justice, in different states, like we see stand your ground in Florida and these states where you can have guns. What makes you think we don't want to just move to those states and uproot and have that, that comfort there? But we can't, because it's like, a lot of other things are also impacted, finding a job, how much you're going to make at that place, finding an apartment, it's just not easy to just up and relocate based off your insecurities alone. So it's just really, really like a whole sad situation all the way across. It's like, I feel like many people are fleeing to the South, Georgia, Texas, Florida, because they feel like they have more self-control over their families in those states versus the northern states. And a lot of my coworkers have done that. Personal family members have done that, and they're more satisfied.
Yeah. And I can't say that I envy the position that some of the folks that are live in the Northeast or on the West Coast and what they have to deal with. Not only because on the West Coast they are dealing with this crazy expensive cost of living that has everything to do with the overpopulation, and particularly in California. I mean, somebody like our girl Denise can tell you about that. She's the one that lives over there. I will never live over there. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I see all of those videos with all of the homeless people in LA. Where I'm from, I had to see junkies. I had to grow up around junkies, but not homeless people to this extent. It's crazy, and it's been like that for a long time. But that's a different subject. They have the restrictions, even though they have to deal with different types of junkies and people that are sick and that are ill, mentally ill on the streets, and sometimes people have to go out there and wade through those streets and with so many risks around them. I feel for them. I'm not gonna go on and on and talk shit about when it comes to the government officials. There are plenty of people that can criticize them. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I feel for them. The citizens, the people that are good citizens, and they can't protect themselves. And again, it's about protection. I'm not talking about that necessarily are gonna be using their means of protection, because sometimes if you kind of like present your means of protection properly, that could be a deterrent. Maybe nobody has to be hurt, but always be at the ready. Always keep a head on swivel, and keep vigilant. That's important. Yeah,
absolutely. Because one thing, a lot of people don't want to engage in a conflict where they feel that you can return fire, because they know that it's a chance where they can, be on the receiving end. They don't want that. They rather, catch you and get the ups on you, or get the drop on you, and try to do to you, whatever they want to do. But when you make that eye contact and a person see that you are vigilant, and a person see and they have to question themselves, say, man, okay, he's reaching too. I don't know if I really want to, that's when you see where a person's heart is, because a lot of these guys out here that prey on people with firearms are cowards. They cowards, and you see, what it is when they feel that it's going to be a fair chance, where if it's going to be a standoff, it's a possibility you're going to go too. And they don't want that. And so a lot of them, have the, tendency to whatever, means of action that they planned on carrying out. They usually, redirect those plans when they see that you got, an equalizer with you as well.
Yes, and you understand that. You understand that because you exercise your right, and I think that I have a fairly good understanding of that, because I try my best to exercise my right. But also to the ladies, if you're listening, K-Fit and Moren, if you're listening, I mean, it's your right too. You should be able to protect yourself also. I mean, especially if you're head of a household. I mean, even if you're not head of a household, you should be able to do that too.
I totally agree. Like, that's definitely a strong point of how I feel too. Like, we should have the rights, whether you're a single mother, whether you're not a single mother, like, just be able to defend yourself in any situations at any time, because no one can plan when these things are going to happen, so that's what it should be about. Not being the victim and legal services and the DA and the prosecutor and the defense. No. Like, that's too much of a long out, drawn out, back and forth court case that people don't have time, money, or energy for.
That's
but
right.
Ramon, can I log back in? I have to step away for a few. How long will we be on tonight?
Well, it's kind of like open-ended. We're just trying to stay on subject. I don't know if there were other topics that we could talk about. Then when it comes to that, I would rather end the stream and start a new one, and then we can talk about whatever, or maybe or maybe something later or tomorrow. But I want to stay on topic for this live stream. So maybe
Understood.
it's gonna be just maybe a little bit longer, and maybe we can cover all of the bases when it comes to that. But I appreciate you coming up.
Thank you. I'll definitely try to log back on before you end the stream. But thank you for having me, and shout out to you and your channel and 18 Blood. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks
No
for joining
problem.
us.
Shout out to you as well, K-Fit.
All right. See you guys soon. Bye bye.
Sure thing.
And yeah, so like, you know what, I had a conversation with my younger brother about that, because he's armed as well. And I told him, you got to make sure, because we just, a cousin of mine just been really hit up badly from gun violence. And it just go to show you how quick, you can be in a firefight, because he was in a situation where, unfortunately, he was coming out of a baby shower.
Mm-hmm.
It was nighttime. The guy had on black clothing, hoodied up. So he was camouflaging the night, was able to creep on the side of cars. And then he started firing. My cousin was hit once. He tried to run. He was hit 2 more times where he lost his legs. He realized what was going on, but he wasn't able to defend himself. The guy got close up on him, where he has 2 bullets lodged in his arm right now, because he was blocking his face, because the guy was really trying to take him out. And like that's a reality that we have to live with, and that's something that can happen to anybody. And so it's best to know your rights, know how to protect yourself, and know that it can go down at any second, even when you're in a more affluent area. That you just never know. The chances are less, but you just never know, and that's something that you have to be aware of.
True. I mean, so let's see what's going to happen, because when it comes to the Supreme Court decision, I don't know the timetable for it to become the law of the land, but the Congress passing this bill the very next day is kind of irks me, because of the Republicans. The Republicans that also added their vote to it. I mean, they're supposed to be such constitutionalists. You see what I'm saying? Because we hear the types that are always defending it, or they're always talking about how only the Democrats are evil, how only the Democrats can be racist, how only the Democrats can be gun grabbers. I mean, I'm not letting the Republicans do the same thing off the hook. I mean, they need to be put on blast too. They need to be held accountable. I mean, I'll give credit. I'll give credit what it's due, because the governor, the Texas governor, Abbott, he made Texas a sanctuary state for gun rights. So if there were to say something from the federal government that is anything restrictive, it wouldn't apply to Texas. So I'm lucky when it comes to that. But it's gonna hit you guys that are in the north harder, and no, that's not right. I mean, it has to be kind of like holding the state representatives accountable, and there has to be more of a voice for that. And I'm sure that there are people in a state like Massachusetts and Illinois that I'm sure that they want the gun rights to be more flexible, to be freer, not having a lot of those constraints. So I'll feel for you guys, definitely. So I'm gonna bring another guest. And hey,
hola.
Hey, chica.
¿Cómo estás?
Hey, todo bien. Nice to see you up here with us.
Nice. Hey, Rakim.
What's up, Morena?
Chilling. Ramon, you said that Texas made it a sanctuary. It's not a sanctuary. It's always been like that. Texas is very aggressive and violent. Believe it or not.
But I did something with Governor Abbott, kind of like reiterating, passing some kind of like a state bills reiterating that it was that Texas being a sanctuary state for gun rights. It was kind of like reiteration. Maybe it's true what you're saying, but I did see the governor signing some paperwork on that.
And most of the NRA advocates are in Texas.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when it comes to the NRA, I don't know. The NRA, they're supposed to be a lobby, but they take a lot of money, and they might do some lobbying, but they're kind of like for profit. They're not always effective. There are other groups that might be more to the point.
If you say they're gonna take away, let's say, gun rights here in Texas, you'll see NRA strong. I mean, like they have an impact.
Yes. Yeah. Because they have been around for over 100 years. Absolutely, yeah. I'm aware of that. They have been since the 19th century.
After the Civil War.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they were. The funny thing about the NRA is that after, I believe, I could be wrong on my dates, but the NRA was created after the Klan was disbanded.
They were never disbanded. They're not disbanded. They're just underground.
Yeah, they just
they broke them up though, Ramon. They broke them up. They weren't as strong as they used to be. I mean, they used to have known politicians, law enforcement.
Oh, okay, yeah. They were more out in the open. Yes, correct. I agree with that. But I don't think they are completely gone. Maybe they have broken up into different factions because they're kind of like the
brother. My grandmother was saying, "So mafino ahora." I don't think they're
Yeah. Because it's still, we have seen in recent years that there are skinheads that come out of nowhere at a protest and they're waving the Nazi flag and the Confederate flag together, and they're the same ones that go on and on talking about that the Confederate flag has nothing to do with racism.
Fun fact, though, Ramon, not all skinheads are racist.
I remember seeing a program about something about that, but in Germany, and there were the racist skinheads and the anti-racist skinheads. That's something I saw years ago. So I have heard about that, but I don't know.
I have some in Illinois, Rakim. My cousin dates one. I think I told you about my cousin in Illinois. He dates a skinhead, and he's not a racist one. There, he's part of the non-racist one.
Yeah, actually, the original skinheads was started in Britain, I believe, and they were not racist. They actually listened to, I believe, different British music and reggae, and they wore their heads bald and they wore those steel-toe boots. But that they were adopted by racist people. They adopted their style of dress, and they pretty much recreated the ideology on what a skinhead is. No different from the swastika. How the swastika was not
exactly.
Yeah, I know, because the inverted version of the swastika, that's a symbol in Buddhism. And it's all about actually it's a peace symbol in Buddhism, but the Third Reich used the mirror image of it, which will mean the opposite. So it will mean war and conflict and going against who is perceived to be the enemy and so on. So yeah, I know. The origin of the symbol is actually of peace.
Yeah. And like speaking like the NRA was pretty much of course it has an origin or a racist origin, because it was what everyone that after the Klan was disbanded the first time. And I believe that was in the 1800s or so, because the Klan started, I believe, shortly after slavery ended. And then
right after the Civil War.
Right after the Civil War, yeah. So after that, after they was disbanded the first time, here came the NRA, where people went, that was part of the Klan, joined the NRA undercoverly, and then the Klan had a resurgence in, I believe, the 1910s or something like that, when they created that movie Birth of a Nation, where it depicted, a black man, assaulting a white woman, and that movie was grounds for the Klan to reemerge, and they were deep at that time because they even marched on the White House. So they was, I believe, President Coolidge or something had ties to the Klan and allowed them to march in D.C. And that's at that time when they were politicians, lawyers, people that were wardens within the police stations and different things like that. And at that time, sundown towns was very serious because there was no highways. So a lot of Black people had to travel through these towns in order to get to their destination. And you can find yourself being in the wrong town at night and you come up missing, and a warden, they're not going to send any police because they was in on it. So, like, also when you look at, that's why I say, especially when it comes to Black American people as well, it baffles me when when you have certain people within my group that decides that they don't want to, go, be an advocate for their gun laws, for the fact that us being an ex-slave population in this country, it can go down anytime that people feel like that they're losing their rights, or they feel like that something is being given to us more than what it should be. A lot of people get radicalized online, and as we saw what happened in the Buffalo shooting, I highly doubt that a lot of those people that lived in Buffalo thought that they was going to lose their lives that day when that guy came in there with that AR.
Yeah.
And that can happen, and people fail to, remember that. The reason, even in California, the reasons why it's no longer open carry, because out of fear that when the Black Panthers was open carrying in the 60s, and they changed the law after they was able to disband the Black Panthers in the 70s, where you can no longer open carry in the state of California.
Yeah, and that was because of the Mulford Act that was signed by a certain Republican governor called Ronald Reagan, and with the support of the NRA, too. Oh yes.
I found out a fun fact, Ramon. The NRA started in November 1871 in New York City.
Okay.
I thought it would be in the South, but it was in New York City. And then they said the purpose of the NRA was it was officially incorporated on November 16, 1871, and its primary goal was to promote and encourage rifle shooting on a scientific basis. That makes no sense, but that's supposedly.
Well, the rifles, I don't know if rifles back then actually had a rifling inside of the barrel, because a lot of the muskets and all were very inaccurate because they didn't have any rifling in the barrel.
They called it a rifle. Oh, that's what they called it.
They were called that, but muskets, those were the ones that were smooth bore.
Well, muskets, I think, was prior to the 1800s. Muskets was like when America first, the inception, I think they used muskets.
Yeah, after
put the gunpowder in, shove the thing in, right? They put the gunpowder in.
They had to manually charge the thing. Yes, and it was more difficult to. I'm going to be bringing the next guest. Hang on, guys. Don José, ¿cómo está?
Ay, aquí con mucho calor.
Thank God we ain't hot no more. Hi, Jose.
Good evening.
Right, Jose? I mean, Ramon, the temperature went down for us.
What's the temperature over there right now?
It's like in the low 80s.
Oh, that's not bad. That's
horrible. That's horrible.
Here is a little over 100 degrees. Maybe not at this very moment.
Not for me. 90. It's comfortable. It's like 90s. It's in the 90s.
Yeah, it was over 90 degrees here.
Oh, okay. I'm indoors. I'm not checking outside.
Well, for me to be comfortable, it has to be at least in the 40s or the 30s.
Don't start with that. No.
You're Eskimo. I forgot.
Yeah.
He melts in the heat.
He loves the polar bear temperatures out there. No.
What I like, Jose, is that New York, the seasons change, right? So when you get tired of the winter, here comes the spring, then the spring, the summer, back to the fall. But here is just like winter, summer.
Well, I'm used to being to the temperature staying more stable than that, and going not going below 75 degrees. That's what I'm used to.
We've been getting some cold weather though, Ramon.
There were a couple of days in which the temperature did go all the way down to like 80 degrees, and it felt chilly to me. So.
Yeah. And it doesn't stay like that though. Throughout the day, it goes up. So
No. By the time it's like midday, you feel the heat. Yeah, that's right. Don Jose,
Yes.
well, what's on your mind? You wanted to chime in?
Okay, I take it you're talking about guns and gun control.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, the problem is when people are talking about they want stricter gun control laws. A perfect example is New York. We have the strictest gun control laws in the nation among the states. Murders are going up, assaults have gone up, homicides have gone up in the state when they have the strictest most gun control laws.
Yes. Yes.
So that's not the solution.
No, it's not working. It has never worked because what they do, they tighten the gun control laws. But who does that affect? It's not the law abiding. Because the criminals are gonna get whatever they want. The ones that are gonna be committing the crime, they're gonna be gang banging. They're gonna be doing the shootouts. They're gonna be doing all of the dirt in the streets. That is gonna get people killed. They're gonna get whatever they want because they get it from somewhere else. They get it from a street vendor somewhere else. I mean, the tightening the gun laws is only affecting the law abiding because they can't protect themselves. That's just the state creating more victims. It's not helping anything.
Well, the governor in our state is called a special session. Gets to talk about more gun control laws.
Yeah, tightening the gun control laws to make more victims, more law-abiding victims. People are trying to do the right thing. People are trying to earn a living, respect the laws, but the laws don't respect the law-abiding. I find that people need to wake up when it comes to that. The gun control laws, the tightening of the gun control laws, the government officials of the state, they're not respecting the law-abiding citizens too much. They're not doing anything for them. So they just want to keep tightening the gun control laws, like what the mayor said. The Mayor Adams, who was talking about that, is passing with the decision of the Supreme Court that is going to make New Yorkers less safe. What do you mean? What do you mean it's going to make them less safe? They're already not safe. New Yorkers are not. You guys are not safe already. So who are they trying to fool?
Yeah, I know.
It is unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I wouldn't want somebody like yourselves to be vulnerable like that.
I know.
Yeah.
But but you know what's insanity? Keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah, and the politicians are gonna keep doing that. Maybe the politicians understand that to a great degree, that what they're doing is not gonna have any real effect and it's not gonna be a real solution, but it makes them look good. It makes them look like they're doing something. So maybe that's what it is about. Because that's all that they can do. They're not doing anything that actually helps the law abiding.
No, because they're too busy worrying about gender fluidity and trying to find out how you define a female and whatnot.
Absolutely, no. That's more important than crime.
Oh yeah. But that's a whole different thing because they didn't know what a woman is according to that documentary. They can't define these days what a woman is. But now, because of the Supreme Court decision about Roe v. Wade, now they know what a woman is. Now they don't know what the hell. Either they do, or they don't know.
Well, you know what's the crazy thing is that new lady that became part of the Supreme Court. When they asked her if she can define what is a woman, She said no. And she's a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So make it make sense.
No, that is not that is nothing you can.
No.
You can't reason with the politicians that are not trying. Yeah. Okay. Alonso Rivera mentions, hey, in my country I can only have 2 guns, also 2 aftermarket parts and accessories. Which 2 guns would you recommend me to get? Alonso, in which country are you at? Where are you located? And he also mentions criminals will always get guns. They don't care about the law, of course. That's what we're saying. The criminals get whatever toys they can get their hands on that they can afford with the dirt money, dope money, whatever it is that they make their money with. They
Yeah.
can get whatever they want. They can get
Uh-huh.
whatever. Okay, you are down in Chile. Well, when it comes to which, if you can you get like rifles or a shotgun, or you can only get certain handguns? Because I will have to know about what do you have available. I mean, a good starter handgun. A good starter handgun is like if you can find anything made by Glock, that's a good starting. That's a good starter. Because the reliability there is very there are very the reputation for reliability is like worldwide, so that will be a good starting point. They're relatively affordable, but they're very reliable. Of course you have to use decent ammunition too. Okay.
Yeah, and also what you were saying, Ramon, with Glocks, the like aftermarket parts for Glocks is like Bank of America. They're everywhere.
Yes.
You can get them. You can get them everywhere for, to be able to, go on the Glock. One of the attachments I would recommend is an O-light, light to put on the barrel end of your. All those are good choices, Alonzo. Glock, CZ, and Taurus.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would recommend.
The kind of like the polymer frame Taurus. I understand that those are actually pretty good. I understand. I haven't tried them. I don't have any of those, but I do have a couple of Glocks myself. When it comes to reliability, they're great. The Glocks are great. CC, that's a Czech brand, and those I understand that they have a good reputation for reliability too. But you have to make sure to get decent ammunition too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 2 MMPs, Alonzo, 2 MMPs, and I really love those. And also CZ is great. I got a CZ, and of course I got a Glock as well, and all of them are very reliable.
Okay.
If your hand is a medium, I would say Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact 9mm, or a CZ P10C. That's another good one. That's compact 9mm as well.
Okay, or if you don't get like a Glock 19, which is like the most popular model of Glocks that they're used by countless law enforcement officers around the world, that there could be a variations. There could be variations on the dimensions depending on people's different hand sizes. So if you have access to a gun shop or a gun range and test them out, whatever fits your hand better, that's what you will need to go with. Should I get a compact or full size? Well, compact, it will be better if you are gonna conceal carry. I mean, are you allowed to conceal carry in Chile? If not, then you can have a full size handgun that you can keep at home.
Joaquin, how's the gun laws in your state?
The gun laws are similar to New York, but they're a little bit more lenient now, ever since the McDonald versus the city of Chicago, and they was forced to acknowledge it. But it's no gun stores within the city of Chicago. They're all on the suburbs, so you got to go out there and get one out of the suburbs. You can conceal carry here now. Minimum capacity is 15, and it's best to have insurance, self-defense insurance, in case you may get into a situation if you're forced. You want to avoid any type of situation completely if you can, but if you're forced to, use your firearm, you want to have self-defense insurance, because it's a possibility, just like in New York, if they trip you up on words that you say, if you speak with the police before you speak with a lawyer, they can, they can trick you into saying something that you can possibly go to jail for.
Oh no,
And
no. When you're around police officers, the best way to go is just to keep your mouth shut. Or if you really have to answer something, if you can answer yes or no and leave it at that, then that will be best. I mean,
and if
just
they,
keep your mouth shut.
yes, absolutely. And if they ever try to interrogate you or anything like that, the best thing to just say, look, I'm distraught. I need to go to the hospital. I'm psychologically damaged because I've just engaged into a firefight with somebody, and
Yes.
my mental capacity is not up to par at this particular point. And if you say
Yes.
that, and they'll give you a couple hours, and if they give you a couple hours, that'll give you time to contact your lawyer, and your lawyer do the speaking from you from there.
Yes. Yes. I always have kind of like there are firms that specialize in that, and there is kind of like a concealed carry insurance that you can get in case somebody has to use their weapon in self-defense, that they can contact these attorneys that are dedicated to that, to helping people that have had to use a firearm in self-defense. That's important to have. I have to check on my status on Texas Law Shield, because I signed up with them a few years back. I have to check my status with them. But it's important to have that, to also have the protection for the protection, meaning you carry your weapon for your personal protection, but you have to be legally protected also. You have to have that you have to have that in order also. That's important.
Interesting.
Okay, Alonso, you were saying that you like the G19. Yeah. Well, the Generation 3 of the Glock 19, it shouldn't be too bad. A lot of people actually prefer the Gen 3s. But if Gen 5 feels better for you, if you think that is better, that should be good too. That should be good also. So you should be fine. But when it comes to, if you can only have handguns, and if you can't carry legally with a license, then maybe you can just have a full-size handgun at home, because those are usually a little bit more accurate because of the longer barrel. So that's something that you could look into. Yeah, that one should be fine too.
Oh yeah,
The
CZ.
CCP-10. Yeah, I've seen those. Those should be good. Those should be perfect.
That's a great choice, Alonzo. I actually own one of those. That's one of my favorites, because what my boy Ramon was saying, yeah, if you can't conceal carry, then you can get a full size, because me personally, I own compact and full size, and I carry both, except that with me living in a cold climate, for the summertime, I can still carry compact, and in wintertime, when I got coats and hoodies to cover me up, I can still carry full size. So.
Yeah, I prefer full size, but that's why I use like long shirts that I can drape over the firearm, so nobody sees it. Yes, Don Jose.
Rakim, are you saying it gets slightly chilly in Chicago in the wintertime?
Yeah.
it gets way past slightly. It gets ice age out here during the winter time.
I can imagine.
You lucky dog, you.
Nah, I'm not lucky. I'm not lucky at all. It's not something that I would prefer to deal with. If it was up to me, I'd be down south somewhere but right now.
Mm. Also, Alonso, if you can buy two, if you can get one full size and one more compact, that's perfectly fine. But make sure that you're good at it. You're good with them, using them, handling hand, be accurate with them. Uh, get your practice on. You go to the range with them and make sure that you are proficient with them. Whatever it is that you want to get.
Mm-hmm.
And another good recommendation as well, Alonzo. I don't know if you all have Walther out there in Chile, but if you have Walther, the PDP is a good. It's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
one as
that's the
well.
one that came out recently, the PDP. That used to
Yeah,
be called it substitutes the PPQ. I thought the PPQ was pretty cool. I don't have one of those, but
yeah. I own a PPQ actually. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I
I
have
got
I
it.
have a I have a P99.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I got the PPQ M2. Um. Yeah. And that's they discontinued that and they decided to go with the PDP now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see.
Mm.
Oh, you don't have Walter available out there. I see. Okay. But it's okay in a match, but it's not available. The Q5. Oh, I see. Yeah. But if you can try different makers at the gun range, try whatever feels best for you. It's a personal choice. We can give you recommendations, but you have to decide which one is it. So some people will try to say buy a Glock, but maybe a Glock is not for you. That's again, it's a personal choice. It's an individual choice.
Yeah, because even when it comes to the particular Glock that I own, a G20, I love the G20, 10 millimeter. That's my winter carry. If ever I'm out and about, I carry that in the wintertime. So
Oh,
that's
okay. So you want a certain manufacturer, you can import it into Chile, but maybe the police won't approve it. I wouldn't take that risk then,
yeah, yeah.
because
It's not worth.
if it's all up to them, you don't want to spend the money and not being able to have it. So yeah, leave it at that. I mean, there are certain Walters that are actually pretty good, and but if the local authorities make it difficult for you, then nah, don't risk it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's
Well,
up?
fellas, I got to get ready to head out.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure. My boy
Yes.
Ramon, thanks for allowing me on your platform once again. Shout out to my YouTube dad, Jose Negron. And this is my girl right here. Shout out to Morena Reyes. I got to get ready to head out of here, y'all.
All right.
Sure thing.
Take it
Hey, I
easy.
appreciate
care,
you coming
Rakim.
up.
Oh, no
All right.
problem. No problem. Anytime for my boy Ramon. Y'all take it easy. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
You too. Take it easy out there too. All right. So Morena, what do you think? ¿Qué es la que hay contigo, chica? What's on your mind about the subject? Anything else that you wanted to?
Oh, with the guns, I bought a gun here because I was able to do it. I never thought about it, and it really came into mind more so when I broke up with my father. Since me and my son are here by ourselves.
Oh, okay.
So I bought it a few years ago. I mean, I haven't had to use it. I used it at the fire range a couple of times, only a couple of times. So right now, I don't know how good I am, actually using it.
Is it okay if I ask you what you got, or you don't want to talk
about it? A Taurus.
A Taurus? Do you remember the model? What model is it?
I think it's a 2 or 3. Let me go get it. Hold on. Let me get it. Hold on.
Okay, Alonso. Yeah, I've had that problem with locks because I'm not so good at shooting them either. I will admit, I'm not so sure at shooting locks unless it's below, if it is up to 5 yards. Any further
back.
than that, I start shooting low and left like you. It just so happens. Yes.
I was right, Ramon. I have a Taurus G2C.
Okay, that's the compact. The C is for compact. That's pretty. That's good. That's good. But do you use it like regular? You said that you have only.
That's what I'm trying to say. The last time you disparé fue last year sometime. At the gun range we have over here, Champion gun range we have over here.
I see. No, but I would recommend that you do that more regularly. I mean, because if something were to happen and you are out of practice, then it's gonna be less likely that you're gonna be accurate with it. I try to do that as often as
quicker to load it. I don't even remember how to do all that. I mean, I went with a coworker of mine who goes regularly or used to go because he moved to Kentucky. Yes. But I used to go with him a lot, so that's when I used to do it. But it's
or at least if you can put a snap cap on the chamber, do dry firing to keep your hand used to the trigger pull. Do the dry firing thing, and there are kind of like YouTube videos that can tell you about what dry firing is. Kind of like you do practice on the motion, on the trigger pull. You keep your hand strong when it comes to the handling of it, but you don't necessarily have to actually shoot with it. That's what dry firing is around. It's something that you can do at home, but at least you keep your hand used to it, and you'll be able to firmly handle it if you have to.
You know, I got this there at the inception of the pandemic. That's when I got nervous. A coworker of mine was like, "I think you need to get a gun." I was like, "Oh Lord."
Yeah, no, but when the pandemic, I remember there were two things that ran out really quickly when the pandemic hit, and that was toilet paper and guns and ammunition. I mean, I should say three things, but
I had to wait months to get bullets. I had to wait months.
Yeah, yes, I remember how everything went out at the academies.
Yes, that's why I was getting mine. Yeah.
Yeah, and now at the academy here where I'm at, you can get all different ammunitions again, but it costs like twice what it used to be, or at least.
But you know, I want to buy some more now in case, because everybody's talking about how bad it's going to get in the fall and the winter.
Yes.
So I want to stock up on that too, on ammunition, just so I'll have it. I haven't used mine. I still have like 2 boxes, but I want to get like 2 more. Because I get packed when people start my anxieties go crazy, so I like to have stuff so I don't have to worry about when that time. Just like toilet paper. Do you know I still toilet paper? I bought so much.
No,
I kept buying some. I was like, oh my god! I looked in my closet where I got everything at stored up, and I was like, I still have toilet paper.
Yes, and try to have additional magazines. Because I don't know how many magazines your gun came with. Try to have only one. Try to have at least 2 more. Try to have at least 2 more, and you keep them full stock of with bullets in, and you keep that handy in a safe place. Don't keep it don't have just one, because you don't know. You might need to shoot more than 1 magazine, and you want to be able to now. You want to be able to reload. So
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Hopefully you don't have to. Hopefully you don't have to use your weapon at all, because but it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So if you can't go to the range regularly, at least do the dry firing. Get a couple of magazines and to keep with your weapon, and make sure that you also have the hollow points. Because there are hollow points and there are the practice bullets. You don't want to use practice bullets for self-defense, because that can go to a person and then hit somebody else. So that's what hollow points are for.
Well, you see, Ramon, that's why I haven't gone anywhere to use it, because I'm not that informed. I like being with people who know what they're doing, you know.
Okay. But try to go to kind of like a gun shop or whatever you can get rounds, and try to get hollow points, because those are the ones that you use for self-defense. You can if you go to academy, you can ask for hollow points for defense rounds, because that's what you want to use in a defense situation. They're designed to, if you have to hit somebody with a hollow point, that they're designed to be stuck on the target. Because if you use a because it's called hollow point because at the tip it has a hole in it, and that when they hit the target, that causes the tip of the bullet to open up, and it causes kind of like a parachute effect, which stops the bullet inside the target. Now, if you were to use a ballpoint bullet, which is what you use for target practice, you could hit a person. The bullet might go through the target and then hit someone else that you did not intend to hit.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's important. That's important that you keep it. If you go to academy, get yourself like a couple of boxes of defense ammunition. You can ask for information as to what recommendation they can give you, but I strongly urge you, if you know that you want to be able to be prepared to defend yourself with your weapon, make sure you have hollow points, defense ammo.
Okay.
That's
it was so easy to buy it, Ramon. It was so easy. I ordered it online, picked it up in Academy, and I was a gun owner.
Yes.
That's
the beauty. That's the beauty of it in the southern states. They got it right. Yeah, and also it's true. The term is full metal jacket. They call it the full metal jacket. Yeah. Kind of like I was kind of forgetting about the term, but they're called full metal jacket. That's what you use at the gun range. But the hollow points is what you use for self-defense.
Okay.
Just for your information, the reason why I'm wearing a mask is because I'm taking the express bus home.
You're breaking
underwater.
Huh?
Sound like you're underwater.
Breaking on. Yeah. You're breaking up.
Okay.
You're breaking up a little bit, but you say that you're wearing a mask because you are using the express train, something like that?
I'm on the express bus. I'm on public transportation.
I do not miss the bus or the trains in New York.
Okay.
I don't miss mass transit, period.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Well, station with a couple of licenses.
I can't hear you.
We can't hear you. We can't understand what you're saying. You're breaking up. You're all chopped up.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you better. We can hear you.
I say we have a small problem with the mices over here in the subway.
With the mouses?
Not mice, rats.
The rats, the giant, those giant.
Ratoncitos is one thing, y ratones is another.
Yeah. La rata es lo que yo no quiero ver.
No, they're small. They don't bother anybody.
Okay. Oh, I see, Alonso. So you have visited the States before. Okay. Yeah. In Florida, I understand. You don't have to wear a mask. I have been to Florida myself because I have family there and I have friends there, and they're not wearing a mask. They're just not doing it. Yeah.
Texas either. I thought New York you didn't have to wear a mask anymore. Well, I know in Texas we don't.
Actually, on public transportation, you still do.
Oh, really? Well, I guess because there's so many people.
Yeah. Because of the density of population. I can understand that. At least here in Texas, there are only certain private business or doctor's offices in which they ask you to wear a mask. So, but those are few places, only a few places. It's not widespread. There is no mandate. Yeah.
Texas likes to give people their freedom, their individual
freedom. Yeah. They rebel against federal mandates.
Yep.
They do that. Yeah, that's true. So, anything else that you guys have on your minds, Don Jose? Anything that you wanted to chime in with?
Well, as I said it before, I mean, the solution is the following. First of all, a lot of people. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just that the bus is moving, so it's kind of hard for me to speak clearly. Look, the solution is that people need to be properly trained. They need to be have some sort of psychological analysis before they they get out to get a gun.
You're breaking up.
You know, at the next bus stop I'll speak because unfortunately I can't.
Can't hear you.
and I
Can't hear you, Don Jose. Can't hear you. Can't understand you.
Well, unfortunately, I cannot remove my mask.
Okay, I see. Yeah, but you were saying that people need to be trained, need to properly train when using a
And I have,
firearm.
and undergo a psychological analysis. In other words, they need to be mentally sound.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's up to. It's kind of like at the discretion of the dealers, because if somebody who lets you have the 4473 form, if they look at you and you don't seem all there, you seem suspicion, the FFL can deny you access to the firearm, even if you already paid for it and online or whatever. They could still, that's still up to their discretion. So you have to. I know that's not the same as requiring some kind of medical clearance or a psychological evaluation. I know it's not the same thing, but fortunately, at least down here, there is no such requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morena, when you gonna do your next live stream?
Yes.
I'm not sure yet. Hopefully, I don't know, if the end of the week, maybe. If not, sometime next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to have an idea, so that way, if you're gonna do ones late, at least I can take a nap during the day. So therefore, I'll say everything.
I'm gonna try to tell you guys ahead of time. That's for sure.
Yeah, but that's
Appreciate
the
it.
thing. You do your live streams at midnight or like at 1 a.m. and maybe we
Well,
we
I
can't
don't want
make
to
it.
cringe on anybody. Like, I know my favorite YouTubers are
No,
on.
but that's the thing. I couldn't think too much about it because there is always some other YouTuber that I like to watch, and I know that I'm missing out on somebody else's broadcast. But I have to say, okay, I have a right to also broadcast at a certain time of the day, and maybe
don't
maybe
get me wrong. If people can go on when they feel like it, but with me, I like to let us say if you're on and I want to watch Ramon, then I'm not gonna go live if I want to watch you.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
Because
the reason why I do that sometimes,
No, to a degree, I do that. I mean, it's just that today I say I'm gonna do it anyway, even if nobody watches, even if I'm broadcasting to 0 people, I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna talk about the subject. And fortunately, there were a couple of people that are watching, and you guys came up, which I'm appreciative of. And other people are gonna be able to catch this on the playback. So, yeah.
Guess who else is doing the stream tonight?
Who?
Kim.
That doesn't matter. Don't matter. We're not worried about that. Well, you watching, Don Jose?
For comedy relief.
Who are you talking about?
Kim 123.
I didn't hear him. Who are you talking?
Cam 123. You know who that is?
Oh.
I hear his name a lot.
Jose said for comic relief.
He said that is for comic relief. I don't know anything. Again, I hear his name a lot from other people, from the Jose and others. I hear his name a lot. I really don't know anything about him, so I'm not gonna talk about him. But I do hear his name a lot. Apparently, he's a special character or something.
Yeah, a very unique, special character.
Okay, I hear you. So if there is anything else that you wanted to share, I guess I'm gonna start wrapping it up. I didn't expect to be this long on a live stream, so I'm actually kind of
Hold on, I'll
surprised.
leave it alone because we could be on here for another 2 hours. I like to talk.
Okay. No, I mean, if there is something that has to do with the subject, then let's
No,
hear it.
actually, it has nothing to do with this something because I'm not familiar with guns. But other than the fact that I purchased it, went to shoot it a couple of times, and I don't know nothing about guns.
Oh, okay. But if you had any other thoughts on the subject,
Yeah, no, I'm good on that. But thank you. This was very informative, though.
Yes, and if you have any other questions, then absolutely, you can DM me directly.
I'm definitely gonna reach out to you.
So, and I know that you're in a different part of Texas, but I still would like to go to the range with you. I would like to do
Yeah,
that.
I think that would work because I don't like going by myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I know that you are like close to Houston. I understand.
That's if you call an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on where in Houston you're at. Yeah, that's
No, I'm in Dallas. I'm in North Dallas. So
that's
I will
even
have to
further.
Yeah, we'll have to come all the
Más
way down
lejos.
there for. Yeah, estoy más lejos. Yo estoy lejos.
That's the only thing I don't like about Texas. See, that's what I miss. Like Jose has that luxury, everything in New York. If you can't drive there, you can take mass transit. Like, and if you want to go like to Jersey, you're not going that far. You know, hour, maybe 2 hours. But Texas, everything is a freaking hassle.
Yeah. Everywhere you go is so spread out because it's so expensive out here. Everything is far out. Everything is far from each other.
Yeah.
Everywhere you wanna go, you have to drive for a while. So, and because of gas prices, but still, I will have to. If I were to come down to your town, I will have to plan for it to stay there overnight, something like that. Which it's doable. It's doable. It's just more. It's just gonna be more expensive on the gas, but my little car.
That's another thing too, because I want to go to IKEA, and I was like, well, do I want to drive 2 hours to get to IKEA? But
damn, you have to drive 2 hours to an IKEA.
Well, it's in Houston. I mean, you factor in traffic. It's gonna take me everything's about at least an hour and 45 minutes. So you figure if there's traffic, that's 2 hours easy.
Hot damn.
Y eso a mí me gusta estar manejando y bregando con la gente en la carretera. Like I hate that.
Okay, gotcha.
This Sunday on my channel, I'm going to be talking how mainline Latinos interact with Latinos that come from other countries.
Yes.
That's a good one.
That's going to be pretty good because I'm the only one who is the quote unquote the outsider because I'm the one who is not a mainlander. You guys are here from the mainland. But I'm the one who actually comes from somewhere else.
With Central and South Americans. I think Caribbean Latinos like Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Dominicans, we have more commonalities than Central and South America, Mexico.
Oh,
I think we're more relatable. I think that's what it is.
Absolutely. Because I mean, when I go to the Dominican Republic, that's like an extension of home. I'm treated like family there, even by people that I just met. When they hear me talk, they know that I'm Puerto Rican. It's all good. It's all love.
Yeah.
So, and I already sent you guys the link to the stream for Sunday.
Yes.
Sure thing.
Yes, that's what the topic is, Jose. That's what the topic is going to be about.
That's what the topic's going to be about.
Oh, okay.
And actually, it was Puerto Rican that made the suggestion that we have.
I'm sure, but I wonder who. That's when our differences come in, right? And maybe sometimes our little gripes might come in because of the differences, like
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I guess I'm gonna be wrapping up. And again, you guys, to the people, anybody watching, thank you for watching, and to the commenters, and you guys, Morena, Don Jose, I appreciate you coming up, being on the panel, and particularly Morena, because Don Jose is consistent with it, and I'm thankful for it. But Morena, I got you on the panel. Yeah.
Cool. All
right,
I'm a little picky. I've been a little picky.
So what I wanted to do, I don't know if you would like to be backstage while I close up. You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. But is it just hitting the remove because I don't use this often? So let me put you in the backstage. I'll be right with you. Hey, Don Jose.
Yes.
Anything else that you wanted to finish up with?
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me on your platform. It was very interesting. Now, I did have some trouble logging on earlier. It's just that I couldn't work on my settings for the camera and for the mic, so basically I have to do it externally. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to like ownership,
you're cutting out.
Unfortunately, with the first movie, it makes it very hard. That's the problem. you hear me?
A little bit better now.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as I was saying, the solution is not more restricted gun control. The solution is to have people properly trained in operating a gun, going through a psychological analysis before obtaining a license. That way, it would try to limit some of the people that have guns. The fact of the matter is, criminals will always get guns no matter what, because you don't want to punish
Yes.
because of
Yes.
certain individuals that use guns to harm and kill people. So thank you very much. I know I came late, but thank you anyway.
Okay, I appreciate you being here. I could barely understand you, but I'm still gonna put you in the backstage just in case your signal becomes a little better. Thank you for being on the panel. I'm gonna put you on the backstage while I close up. All right, and really quick. Oh, well, hey, Golden. First, I wanted to say, Alonso. Hey, thank you for joining the chat. It was nice seeing you sharing your point of view from Chile. Maybe there could be another time where we can get you to join the stream. Okay. Hey, Golden, you come in just as I'm closing up, but if you would like to join and maybe say hello really quick, and after that I will have to put you in the backstage where we can talk. If you want to come out really quick. Okay. Well, I'm still gonna leave the link up. I'm gonna be closing up, but I'm gonna be on the backstage where you can still meet us there. I'm gonna be there with Morena and Don Jose. I'm gonna leave the link. You can meet us there. But I'm actually closing up. We have already been here for a couple of. Okay. Hang on. Hello there, Gigi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. How about
Sorry
yourself?
I'm late.
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
It's just that I was just closing up because I was here with Morena. I have them on the backstage actually, and Don Jose. So I could put you on the backstage while I close up, and maybe we can chat a little bit more.
Okay. I don't really know much about the topic. I'm kind of behind on the loop, so I'm gonna have to catch that playback.
Okay, but really quick, what we were talking about is the Supreme Court decision when it came to firearms, when it comes to gun ownership. They were striking down the laws in New York, which are because of the restrictions that we're having there. There was the case of Rifle versus Bruel, I think it is called, and that was what the decision that came down was about. That it was declared that the New York laws, the restricted New York laws, are actually unconstitutional. So there are some things that may change in New York. But the thing is that the very next day, on Thursday, last Thursday, the decision came down on Wednesday. The very following day, the Congress actually passed a bipartisan bill that the president signed off on, for certain restrictions that are kind of bogus because there are already laws in place for them when it comes to the background checks. There is a suggestion about the legal age requirement. They're trying to increase that from 18 years old to 21 years old. There was also something about enhancing the background checks. There is already federal background checks. They will have to explain what does that mean. So that's what we were talking about. And when it comes to being in different parts of the country and being able to have all firearms and having licenses, and how does that vary depending on where you are in the country. So that's basically what we were talking about. But there is more info
I'm
if you
in
check
Florida.
that.
I'm in Florida, so it's stand your ground here, you know. But yeah,
Yes.
I will definitely check out the playback and see what's going on because I really don't know. I ain't gonna lie. I've been busy.
Okay, no problem. So if you like, I could put you in the backstage and meet you guys there. How do you?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
go, yeah, I'll confirm
but if there was something else that you wanted to say, or as part of the broadcast before I end.
No, I just wanted to say hi to everybody, and I hope you guys have a good evening. Bye.
Oh, okay. You're gonna be stepping up. That's okay. That's all right.
Well, I'm confused. What exactly do you want me to do?
No, I want you to be back in the backstage. It's just that you sounded like you were gonna click out. So I'm gonna put you in the backstage. Thanks for coming up, Gigi.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me up.
All right. So anybody who's still listening, and maybe if you can catch it on the playback, and I hope that you find this live stream informative. We were touching on the Supreme Court decision about the rifle versus bluer and decision when it comes to the New York laws. And also we were touching on the Congress bipartisan bill that was passed the very next day. These two things came down right before Roe v. Wade. So you can check out the timeline. Those were two things that came one after the other. On Friday, there were the Roe v. Wade, but on Wednesday and Thursday, it was the Supreme Court decision about the New York gun laws and the bipartisan bill the very next day. So if you can, check out the playback. And I'm going to say, have a good one. Thanks for joining. And until the next one.